Hey, it's your girl Pika here in Singapore, and another bright sunny morning. It is Friday, y'all, 11 o'clock in the morning already over here, and I am enjoying the quiet, the silence in my house. Baby girl's still sleeping because she loves to sleep in at the moment because she stays up way late with me. I'm a bad influence, what can I say? But it's a holiday, so I'm gonna let her do her because when school starts, she got to get up early in the morning all over again. So while she's got it, she can flaunt it for a little bit. The rest of the house is kind of awake, I guess, but they're in their own rooms doing their own thing. People are starting to fly in for my mom's birthday on Sunday, and I'm excited. I'm excited for things to come. But there's a reason I actually entitled this podcast episode, I Use My Pain. Because when I think about all of you guys, I think about little me. Me back when I was a kid, me back when I was a young adult. I'm still a young adult, what am I talking about? But when I was younger, and the things that I had to go through and the things that I had to face, sometimes several times before I got the lesson and learned to stand up for myself. So that's part of the reason I'm actually out here, right? I'm talking to you guys, I'm teaching you guys based on my own experience. That's part of the reason I document my journey, because I need you to understand sometimes if you don't deal with things, they pop back up. Sometimes if, you are getting ready to do something new, that same fear pops back up. So unless you learn how you deal with things, it's going to be a self-discovery every time something new creeps up into your house, into your room, into your mind, all that stuff, right? So I want you to understand the reason I write, the reason I speak, the reason I teach is because I don't want you to have to go through the things that I went through. I don't want you to have to go through them multiple times like I did. I want you to be able to feel good about who you are, feel strong about who you are, and then stand up for yourself. Because it took me a very, very long time to learn how to do that. And mostly because I have a very mild-mannered parent who doesn't actually do those things. So I try really hard to figure it out for myself. You okay? But when you figure it out for yourself and you don't have support, it takes you 10 times longer. And I don't want you to have to do that. I want you to lose any of that time. I don't want you to have to waste any of that time. So here I am speaking to you guys about how I use my pain. I used to write poetry, and it would be, I feel something very strongly in my spirit, and I had to put it down on paper before that feeling kind of disappeared, because I knew that I could use my words well enough for you to hear or feel what I was feeling in that moment. It was part of my way of helping you identify with me, helping you feel like, oh my gosh, she's speaking to me because I'm feeling those things right now. Because when I wrote it, I was feeling the same way you were feeling. And so I wrote poetry a lot. And every now and again, I would kind of get writer's block and I put it down and I wouldn't write for a long time. But for now, I feel like I need to start writing again. I need to be able to show people that I am exactly who I say I am. I have been where you've been before, and you need to understand that you don't have to feel this way. It's a crappy feeling. It's not enjoyable. It makes you feel like you're powerless sometimes, but I've been there and you don't have to stay there. So when I talk about these things, I want you to learn that, yes, maybe something happened that was traumatic. Maybe you have flashbacks of that moment and you feel powerless because your thoughts kind of just take over, right? But you do have a way to ground yourself from those things. You have the choice to choose the thoughts that you have for the most part. Yes, they pop up. Yes, they pop up, absolutely. But you don't have to continue down that path. You don't have to follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole. You could instead let the rabbit go and focus somewhere else if you wanted to. You have that choice, you have that ability. But I need you to understand that you don't have to be where you are right now if you don't want to be. For example, I know what it's like to have something to say and be afraid to say it. And I know when I say this applies to so many different situations. Maybe you made a mistake in your relationship and you cheated and you have to come out and tell your partner because you love them and you want them to love you as you are, knowing everything there is to know about you. But you're afraid because you don't know what that reaction might be. Maybe you did something that you knew your parents didn't want you to do, but you did it anyway, and maybe you're in trouble now and you're afraid to come out and tell your parents, hey, you know what, you were right, I should have listened to you, but I didn't, and here's what happened. You're afraid again because you don't know what the consequence might be. You don't know if you're going to be punished forever. You don't know if they're going to stop talking to you. You don't know what the reaction would be. But you know you need to come forward. Maybe it's a situation where you have a very close relationship to you and you want for the relationship to be better than it is, but there are certain things you need to tell the other person that you're not sure how they're going to handle it. And look at that, it's 11:11 right now. You're not sure how they're going to handle it. And you're afraid that they might cut you off completely and you don't want to lose that person. But you also know that if you carry on being the way that you are, you're going to have to hold your tongue on a lot of things. That fear, that inability to express what you feel, that's what I want you to stop doing. I want you to feel comfortable doing all of those things. I want you to feel comfortable speaking up and saying what you mean without offending the other person on purpose, but at least saying what you feel. I want you to know that saying what you mean all the time gives you the freedom to be who you are all the time. It means you don't have to have different versions of yourself for different people. It means you don't have to censor yourself in front of certain people. It means you can be who you are, always, and be comfortable, be free, be happy. I can only imagine what it's like to live a different lifestyle from everybody else and love what you do and love everything about who you are, but then have to pretend like you're not that person in front of certain people. And yes, right now I'm speaking to the LGBTQ community. No, I'm not part of those letterings, but I am the plus. I'm straight, but I also chose a different path for my life. I decided against my parents' better wishes to fall in love and get married. I decided against my parents' and my family's wishes to marry an African American man who already had been married and had kids. I decided to move in with someone before I was married, and that was against everyone's wishes too. But that was the best decision for me at the time. And yes, I fast-forwarded life a little bit for me. It means that we had to deal with things that we weren't ready to deal with, but we dealt with them, and that showed me whether I could keep the relationship or not. I know what that feeling's like. I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I know what that feeling is like, where you have to kind of smother yourself and pretend that you don't exist the way you are, so that other people feel comfortable, so that you don't have to hear anyone else's mouth about it, so that you don't have to feel like you're judged. You can kind of be yourself. But I also know that the longer you hold your tongue, the harder it gets. I have memories of being abused. That didn't pop up until I faced a similar situation where I was being rejected by a boy because, I don't know, they didn't feel like I was good enough, or they didn't want everyone to know outside. It was a secret, right? I was rejected in public and pursued in private. But that whole situation made me uncomfortable, and I couldn't say out loud what I felt to him for fear that he would not show me the kind of affection that I was seeing. Not realizing that I was doing myself a disservice. That's not the way I want affection. I was demeaning myself. But until I faced that fear and told him how I felt, I didn't have these memories pop up where I needed to do the same thing in another relationship. I needed to confront somebody and tell them, hey, what you did was not okay and I'm not okay with it. But also, being young, I went to someone that I thought I could trust, that could hold that secret and at least walk me through what I needed to do next. And unfortunately, they weren't mature enough to handle the situation, and so it ended badly. For speaking up that time, I was beaten up. I was silenced. I was ostracized. I was told I was the problem in the family. I was silenced. And so I didn't talk about it again for a long time. But you could see in my actions that I was disrespectful. I was defiant. I was rude even. And that's not who I am. I'm not a rude person. I can be, but that's not who I naturally am. And so life went on. Whenever that person popped up, I was rude. I was this different, ugly version of myself. And whenever they left, I was back to normal. I was my beautiful, authentic self. But because I didn't deal with it, I had problems going forward. I had problems on and off with this person, and problems with other people around that person because it affected everyone. They could see how I was behaving. They didn't like it. So do you see what happens if you don't deal with your emotions? And a lot of times it's not because you want to put somebody in their place. It's not like that. For me, I need to tell you how I feel, so you know how I feel. And it's not a justification for how I'm acting rude, but this is why I don't feel comfortable around you, so I act different. And once you know the reason, then it's up to you. Whether you do something with it or not, that's all you. But I said my piece. Mic drop. That feeling that you have said your piece, you've allowed them to see who you are and understand why you are, then the rest is up to them, how they deal with it. But you've done your due diligence and you've given them the opportunity. Don't hide. Don't tuck everything away deep inside of you and pretend like it's not there. It is. It will keep popping up. So this is why I use my pain. These emotions, there are only very few emotions, and they keep popping up for everybody in different situations. Jealousy is jealousy no matter where you go. Maybe you're jealous of your siblings. Maybe you're jealous of your boyfriend. Maybe you're jealous of your classmates. Maybe you're jealous of your mom. I don't know. Maybe you're jealous of your child. Jealousy is jealousy. Why? Because you wish you were the other person. Because you feel like they have an opportunity that you don't have. Because that's the story you're telling yourself. But you can fix that. It depends on the lens you use to see the world with. So that's why I use my pain. I've been jealous before. I've been afraid before. I've been nervous. I've been guilty. I've felt shameful. All the feelings you feel, I've felt. Different context, but I felt those same feelings. I feel love. I feel support. I feel joy. Feelings are feelings. The context is personal. But what if you could learn to manage those feelings, meaning feel them and then do something about it? Do something about it where it makes you bigger, stronger, faster, more resilient. So you can move forward and you don't face the same demon again. That's why I teach. That's why I'm here. I use my pain to show you where you're possibly hurting that you don't have to feel that pain anymore. I use my pain to light the path towards me. If you felt any of those things, come holler at me. Come ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to show you that the pain doesn't have to last. The suffering does not have to last. What is that saying? Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Yeah, you're going to feel some things. It's generally the way the life goes. Feel good and bad. Feel indifferent. Feel nothing sometimes. That's all normal. How you view the world after that happens, though, that's up to you. I know people who have been through cancer and survived and are bitter. I know people who had a near-death experience. Maybe they almost stepped into the street and they saw their life flash before their eyes before someone jerked them back before a car came speeding by. And in that moment, that clarity, it changed their entire life view. They became more grateful. They became more compassionate. They paid more attention. But what was the difference between the person who almost stepped off the curb and got hit by something and the person who survived cancer and was bitter? It's all about the way they saw the world, all about what they choose to see in their experience. I'm choosing to see beauty in my experience, all the pain that I've lived through, because I want people to know that it doesn't have to last. The suffering is up to you. I love you guys. I hope this makes sense, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.